I think I will. Then I'll also introduce you to Entity Framework, another way of working with databases with ADU.NET, right? More recent in the sense, will become, I'm sure, popular than what we do, but there's nothing wrong in what we are doing. They're just two different ways of doing it. And you will be doing Entity Framework again in another course in summer, I've heard. So I'm kind of okay. Like, anyway, I couldn't have done a lot, but still you will be doing it. So I'm rest assured you will see it again. So if you have your work from last week, if not, you could maybe pick it up from Blackboard. I'm sure I must have put it, but if not, let me know and I will. So we'll quickly go through what we were doing. I'll quickly refresh your memories and then add more to it and so on and so forth, right? So once you're ready, let me know, please, okay? So remember, different ways of working with data. We worked with volatile variables and arrays and lists. We have worked with files, of which hopefully you've completed your assignment. It was due yesterday and back on Blackboard. I'll start marking it today, right? So I should be done with it before you do your final exam. I'm hoping, right? So that's my agenda right now, to mark those assignments. Hopefully everybody did submit it. And I'm hoping it was done well. Now, for your final exam, keep in mind that the new topics that we've covered after the reading break are arrays, lists, and in terms of design, corresponding combo boxes, list boxes, right? Then we did files, and then we did databases. So these are the new topics that you covered after the reading break. The old ones still hold. So my aim would be to give you something out of these topics, okay?
Will our exam be like open, look at our
exactly same as you did your midterm, right? Same as you did your midterm, you'll be able to look at your examples, you'll be able to look at your assignments. No internet access will be allowed except if required for MSDN website. So I'll have to keep an eye on that, right? So again, I'll have to just kind of see that you don't go outside and make a request to IT to kind of see that all you access is either Blackboard or MSDN. So again, you can't keep eye on all the students at the same time, but my assumption is if you're honest, I'm fine with it. But yes, that will be it. So there's nothing that you'll have to cram or anything. Same kind of format that you did with your midterm. Maybe not from scratch necessarily, because now my issue is not necessarily design. You know what I mean? Like at that point of time, you were learning how to design, but something like that. So hopefully on the weekend, I'll kind of finalize your midterm. So I can give you some idea of it maybe on Blackboard. Okay, so I'll post an announcement on Blackboard kind of by Monday, hopefully, that this is what you can expect. But those are the 4 new topics that you've done after the reading, and whatever corresponding design controls you've done. You've done combo boxes, list boxes, menu items, context menu. We did already actually menu items, tool strip. I'll show you what a tool strip is. Just like a menu strip, but just a little different. It occurs below the menu. So anything in the design, and plus, of course, anything new from your 4 new topics that you've done after the reading week, right? So the course is, of course, everything we've done from day 1. You can't kind of say in programming, oh, I don't know why, because we did it before. That cannot happen, but it will be a hands-on is what I'm thinking. Like that's what I think should work. So something that you can do in 3 hours, and open resources as long as they're your resources. You're not going to web to look for solutions. That's it. Okay. So that's for your final exam, so that you know. I will be available on email and in my office hours this week. If there is anything you need to ask me or clarify, go ahead and do it. Right. By that time, I'll start marking your assignment, your last assignment. And again, if I find something is amiss or I can mark it or something, anything, I'll email you. Okay. So keep your eyes on your email now till Wednesday, December. When do we finish? I think we finish on 16, right? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 is where I have to give in my results. So if anything goes wrong, Wednesday, 21st, you should have an email from me. So keep your eyes on your student email, please. Okay, just in case something is not working with your assignment or your exam or whatever it is. The only way I can contact you is email you. So if I don't hear from you, then if I can mark it, then it's just a 0. So keep that in mind. So, but I will let you know if things are not working fine with this, either the assignment or your final exam. So the onus is on you. All marks will be up by Wednesday, 21st of December, 4 p.m. They have to be up. Okay? Okay.
The database you posted on Blackboard is different from what you're showing us right now.
What do you mean by database? You mean the assignment? No, it could be a different form. We created 2 forms. My different one is open. Maybe you are seeing this one.
Data grid?
Yeah, maybe. Are you seeing data grid?
Yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah, so we had 2 forms. We had created 2 forms. So if the example is there, then it is complete. So the example is on Blackboard under Wednesday section, then it is complete. Just look at another form. We created 2 forms. Okay. So this is what you were seeing. You were seeing a data grid form, right? So I'll very quickly. So what are we trying to do here? We are trying to connect to a database. A database will have tables. Tables will be related to each other. You could have foreign key constants. You could have, of course, you would have primary keys. You could have auto increment primary keys. Your fields could have default values, so on and so forth, right? So keep in mind when you bring tables from a database into your data set, we are working with ADO.NET. So we have an application on one side, we have database on another side. Oh, I see 2 MMAs. I'm messing up so much that things are just coming where I'll have to see which one is the one that I need. And I'll delete the other one. Do you see 2 too? No, maybe not. Maybe it's just me because I've been doing, I'll see which connection I am working with. So this is the Murac one. And this is the database example. Okay, so the second one is the right one. Okay, and I did find out this cross simply means that you've made changes to your bin debug database. And if we refresh it, then we are back to square one. We're again copying everything from the project folder. Remember there are 2. Remember if I told you there were 2, there is an MMA MDF sitting here in your project. And while you work with it under debug, it's kind of copied. And there is where those changes are made there. That's your final file. So if you see a cross here, don't worry about it. It just says you've done changes. But if you refresh it, all it means is go and get back everything for me from here, right? That's what it means. So if I do that, I'm basically kind of overruling copy mover. You know what I mean? Like I'm saying overrule it, just get whatever it is. So leave the cross alone. So the refresh is bringing back original back to you from the file. So we don't do it. Okay, so what we did here, so what is a database? Collection of tables, and you have to keep in mind a few things which is quite detailed in the sense that when you start working with it in real life, you will realize it. But for example, there is a field that is a primary field and it is auto increment. I would say don't even ask the user for its value. Right? Don't even bother. Because when you create a table and you say it's a primary key and you make it auto increment, the whole purpose of that auto increment is that let the system take care of it. So when you are adding a new record, maybe make it read only or something, or don't allow user to put in a value in that. Though what happens is if you try to put a value and it is a wrong value, I found out, it automatically gives you the next increment. But why confuse the user? Second thing that I should just mention, though we aren't doing it just because we are not so much aware of what's going on in our database. I just have a file. If I'd created my own, maybe it would have been a better, and I'll show you how to create your own database actually today, right? The second thing you have to remember is that fields that have default values in your database, when they're transferred into your data set, this definition of default is not carried over. It's not. So it is the programmer's responsibility that if he or she has to work with such fields, then to give it a default value in its properties. So that way you are safe, right? Or you will have to ask the user to give in a value. So definitely if it has a default value in the databases, the easiest way to take care of it would be to put a default value in its field here. And how do you do it? Is just a field, right? So if you go here and you go to so there is a default property. So if you go here and you say edit my columns, and it should be somewhere here. So name cannot have a default value. Of course, none of these can have a default value, but I'm looking for that property. And I forget where I saw it, bless you. But there is a property called default. And where did I see it now? And the default value, you can give a value to it. So that way you're fine. You don't have to worry about it. But you have to keep in mind that default value definitions are not carried forward from your database to your data sets. So you have to be careful about default fields with default values. Now, where did I see that default property? Okay, it will come back when I do it maybe, or maybe in the data detail forms, the design, maybe here. I think it was called default or something, or I'm forgetting the name, but you can provide a default value to a particular field. Now I forget where was it. Where did I see it? Okay, let me hope that it comes back to me as soon as I see so many things and then I say, oh, I should tell my students, and then I forget where I saw it. No big deal, it will come back when I do it. Okay, so let's look at the two things we did very quickly so that I can move forward. So there was a data grid form, and it was as simple as this. You connect to the database, you get the table or tables you are interested in, right? Whatever table or tables you are interested in will show in your data source. So you have to select a data source. Your data source can be, you can attach a database file, that means the database file already exists, or you can create your own one. So maybe I'll show you how to create one when I'm done this, right? You can create it right in Visual Studio. You don't have to create it outside the environment. It can be done right. Just a little terms that you have to remember. For example, an auto increment is called identity column in Visual Studio. That's a few terms that you have to remember, but you can create it right here. So you get your data source, you say this is the source I'm interested in. If you're not interested in all the tables, then you only get what you need. From the tables also, you can only get the fields that you need. I just took all the tables. I just did that, right? And if your database file has been created properly and all foreign keys and all that has been taken care of, notice how you had this relationship of one-to-many in your customers and invoices, right? So this is showing you the relationship. Okay, so I did take all the tables. It was not a big deal. I just wanted to show it to you. The easiest way to show the data to the user, there are many ways. The easiest way to show the data to the user is using the data grid view, right? And this is the data grid view. And all that the data grid view does is, as the name suggests, it shows the data in a grid, right? You have the option of disabling, adding, editing, and deleting, and just let the user browse the data, or you have your options. You have all these options. Will you allow adding? Will you allow editing? Will you allow deleting? Maybe you don't want to allow adding or deleting, but only editing is allowed. Just check that box. That's all you have to do. Right? That's all you have to do. So where are these commands taking place? In a minute, I'll show you where are the commands for this adding, deleting, and editing written. You will say, I never wrote those SQL statements. Where is it happening? So when I go and I do it and I say save, where is the update statement or the select and so on, and the delete statements? I'll show you where they are in a minute. You can always edit your columns. You can delete, you can change their sequence, you can change their behavior, the data, the column type, the width, and so on. And we did a few things here, right? We did a few things here too. So you know how to work with this, hopefully. Also, what I did was I added a cancel button. It was a button, but with text on it. I added a cancel button to my menu bar, to this. So if you kind of bring your mouse over it, it is a binding navigator. We know it's a binding navigator, but it's just like a normal, like a tool strip. That's what it is. Okay. So some are given to you by default, and you can add your own. Plus, just for your information, you can also remove the navigator bar if you don't need it at all. You'll say, then how do I browse through my records? What do I do? How do I go to the next record? I'll show you. You can do it through a combo box. I'll show you with the same example, maybe just very quickly with another example of the same customer, that you can make your combo box, your customer a combo box, and then you can select from it. Okay, so this is what you did. We wrote the code for cancel edit, but again, we did talk about exceptions and so on. And remember, I said there were three kinds of exceptions you have to handle. Exceptions that can occur because of your server, right? That's what, from where it is coming. So you're using SQL Server or whatever you're using. So those exceptions, so that's your data provider. Exceptions that can occur due to ADO.NET. So methods that you're using in ADO.NET, those, and then exceptions that can occur on your front end for your form. Right? So those are the three that you have to kind of consider. So we did talk about these SQL exceptions and data exceptions, and this DB concurrency and data are coming from your ADO.NET. How do you know? What should you do? You know what? It's in your slides. I had to go there too. Like, I had to find out what exceptions should I be worrying about. So if you want to somewhere, I can't remember these slides but I think in 18, chapter 18 is they've mentioned these slides that you must work with. Sorry, the exceptions that you must handle. I'm sure they were somewhere for sure. So, I mean, you have to look up. Oh, there they are. See, so these were, I had to kind of say, oh, which exceptions should I be caring about? Because Visual Studio does give you some code. You know that. It does the filling and all that. It does give you some code, but it never takes care of exceptions. So what are the exceptions on your data provider side? What are your exceptions on the ADO.NET? And what are your exceptions on your form? That's all you have to handle, right? All of them. So exceptions that are occurring on your data provider side for us are SQL exception. Right? Not the ODBC or the OLE because we are using MySQL. So what did I do? I added a catch block for it. And these are the members. I got the message, I got the errors and so on, right? So here was an example. The errors that can occur, the exception classes that you must kind of handle on the ADO.NET side are DB concurrency, which I did. Data exception, I think I did. Constant and no null, I did not, but you could just add them. What is no null allowed? No null allowed means you are adding a record and you didn't provide a value for a field that is a required field in your database. So then this exception is thrown. The no null allowed exception is thrown. So I would just put a catch for each of these exception classes. And if I don't know what is happening, I always have the message. And I can print out that message for the user. At least I have caught them. Right? At least I've got them. So I was a little lazy, I think, last time, or maybe we didn't have time, but I did catch the DB concurrency and the data exception from my ADO.NET classes. All you do is add 2 more. And what's a constant exception? It's all database. What is a constant exception? It's like a foreign key constraint, for example. You are saying that any changes, I cannot add a state. A customer cannot belong to a state if that state is not in my state table. Logical, right? Or invoices cannot have a customer ID if that customer ID is not in the customer table. So those are your constant exceptions. Again, when you start adding your data and you don't take care of these constraints, it will throw a constraint exception. So they're valid exceptions that you must handle. You should take care that you do handle these exceptions. So I did not handle all of them, but I should have. So what did I do? I did the DB concurrency one. I did the data exception one. All you have to do is add 2 more catch blocks. Then what's this one? What is the argument exception? The argument exception are those exceptions that can come from your data grid view or your data, like your data. So I think somewhere they're mentioned too. I can't remember, but I remember it was argument null, and so on. Right? They were there. I forget now. So I did for the data grid view. This is the event of the data grid view, the data error, and I'm not sure if I added it for you. If not, I'll add it for you. Right? This is an event. It is a control, basically an event. So what you do is to add the code for it, you'll have to go and add it in your events folder. I can't remember if I did it. If I didn't do it, I'll just do it for you. I can't remember. We'll see what we did. Okay. Because at that point of time, I thought I would be able to do more and I wasn't able to, which is okay. No big deal. Okay. So again, as I said, I didn't do all of them, but the idea is, remember, I may not be able to do everything in class, but the idea is that I tell you that it can be done. And then I leave it to you. When you really program in the real world, you have to be careful about all these exceptions. So I did quite a few. I didn't do a bad job, actually. Right? I did quite a few of you. And I didn't do a try catch here. So if there is a cancel edit here, the minimum I can do is at least put it in a try catch block and catch any errors that I can get. And you'll say, how do you know what you will get? Because I am kind of aware of it. I know if I use end edit, I have to catch these exceptions, and similarly. And if not, all you can do is Google it. Exceptions thrown by cancel edit, binding source. That's it. And just put them in the try catch box. Okay. So be careful about these things. So we did the cancel, though I did a small thing in cancel. Now, so that's your data grid view. Nothing big in it, but easy to handle. You know what I mean? Like all you had to do was drag and drop. And I realized yesterday, guys, that you should be dragging it. And I don't know, I don't remember from my previous experience that you should be dragging and dropping from your data sources, though it is also available in Toolbox. This data grid view is also available in Toolbox. But students were having problems yesterday with when they moved it from the Toolbox and using it. Either the save button wasn't coming or the navigator wasn't coming. So I kind of went and looked at it, and I don't know, it was fine by 2013, as far as I remember. Maybe they did some changes to 2015. Why would they do it? I don't know. So I would recommend that if it comes in the exam, just take and drag it from here into your form. Okay. Keep in mind. Let me show you what I was talking about in terms of when will you not need the navigator at all. Let's try that. So create a new form. We'll come back to the other data grid view afterwards. So this is your detail view. It has a navigator bar. I showed you how to add a button and so on. Okay, let's try another one. So create a new form, which you can always do from project here, or you can go to your project there and do it. So let's call it data by customer, something like this. Okay, let's do data by customer, just to give me an idea of what I'm doing. Okay, what will we do here? Let me show you what will we do here. So I'll have a form. And again, the sizes of this form, putting it in the center, it's all I'm hoping that you can all do that, though it's not so difficult. It should start at center screen. It should you should not be able to maximize it because it looks ugly. You should have a form border style of fixed border. And now, of course, a text that makes sense. So maybe we can just say data by customer. It is actually by customer ID, but anyway, here, right? Data by customer ID, and that's your title. Okay. Okay, what am I going to do here? So please notice what I'm doing. A few things. One, in your customer, please change it to details view instead of data grid view. Step number 1. 2, change the customer ID from text box to combo box, because I'll let the user search an ID and I'll show the relevant data. Okay, making sense? So change the data grid view for customers from details view to, from data grid view to details view, and change the type of the customer ID. You could do this afterwards also, but I mean, if you know what you have to do, why not do it before dragging it? You can always go and do it afterwards and then delete the old ones, add the new ones. Why do more things? Okay. And I changed the customer ID from a text box to a combo box. You could have done a list box, but that's too big. Remember, there are 600 and something customers. You don't want a list box there. Okay, now the rest you could do if you wanted, but I'm not so much interested in it. I'm going to take this and put it here. Right? And make it a little pretty. So you could do a few things. So notice this is a text, it's just a combo box. Okay, it's not a big deal. So if you, I'll do it afterwards maybe. So combo boxes, the numbers are not too big. The name could be big. The address could be big. And if you remember, we kind of created the state, city, and zip codes. I mean, you don't have to do it. Change this title. So it's just a label. I mean, all you're doing is, the advantage is you have linked to a database. You're using a database source. You have tables and everything. All you're doing is you're working with them. Okay. And then you can remove these labels. Okay, so now look at it. This is a combo box. Because you changed it, it is a combo box. Okay, this is a text box. And again, if you want to make the read-only properties as true, we'll do that too. So I'm going to kind of take these labels just because they're a little more, and then move them a little towards the left. Okay, and I mean, they're too far off, but anyway. And I hope you remember, you can always decrease the size of your form. Don't make it too big if it is not required. You can always increase the font and everything, and then as easy as center horizontally. There. So don't forget these things. They are small things that make your form presentable, right? Some of you don't even care for these small things. You won't center it. You'll have spelling errors. Like, I mean, minimum, how much time does it take? Okay, now this is what I want to do for all these boxes, these ones, these text boxes, make it read only. Because all you're doing is showing the data, the user the data. And for this, do you remember the property that doesn't allow you to enter data in a combo box? What's the property that you have to change? Drop down style, right? So change it from drop down to drop down list. There. So this is only going to show you data by customer ID. If you, yes.
I missed the zip code one.
For the zip code one, all I did was I took the state and the zip text boxes and kind of put them in a line here. And then I removed those labels and I changed this label from city to city, state, and zip. Just formatting a little. That's it.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to bring to you. They're just normal controls. So you can play with them as you want. You know what I mean? Like make them read only, change their size, put them wherever you want. They're just text boxes or labels. That's all they are. Okay, now I will remove the navigator bar afterwards, hoping I can make it go. So now how does it work? Let's see how is it working. Let's run it. Oh no, before we run it, please go to your program.cs and change the new details form to, what did we call it? Data by customer form. You know how to do this, right? If I have to start from a different form, there, data by customer form. Let's run it now and let's see what happens. So I will remove the navigator bar. Give me a minute. Okay, so now what is happening is you're saying, oh, data is coming, but what's in my combo box? There's nothing in my combo box. So how do I go to the next one? I don't want to use this. That's not what I want. And I don't want it to be loaded when it begins. I want it to be blank. So let's see how to manipulate these things. Okay. Okay, so now how do you manipulate these things? Okay, so go back to your form that you were doing in the design, go back to your view and look at the code. You tell me what, if I don't want anything to come up when the form loads, what should I be doing? Look at the code here. I mean, I haven't put it in try catches. We can do that afterwards because that's what I get. What should I do if I don't want anything to be loaded when the application is run? No data to be loaded. What do you think? There, remove it from here. Don't fill the data. Right? What does this do? What does the fill method do? The fill method fills your form with the first record from your data set. Remove it, you won't see it. Right? So you won't see anything now when you run your code. You'll say, okay, that makes sense. Let's see if that makes sense. Nothing comes on the screen when the form loads, good enough. But then what is this? How do I get this now going? What do I do about this now? Okay, so that's my second step. And removing the navigator is just easy. I'm not even going to bother about it in a minute. Okay, and now let's do this. Okay, let's go back to the details for the form that we were doing. Click on it. And notice the smart tag, it says use data bound items. So I want to bound it with whom? The customer ID of the customer table. Say yes, I want to do that. Okay, it says whom do you want to bind with it? You see what I'm trying to do? I'm now trying to bind this. You'll say, does it, like, what happens in this text box? I didn't do anything about this text box. Yeah, that was fine. You didn't do anything about this text box because you didn't change its type. It was a text box and you got it. With the combo box, you changed. So you have to be careful about it. Okay. Okay, so let's come back. I said, yeah, it is a data bound. Now it says, okay, what is your data source? Pick up your data source, guys. Pick it up. What's your data source? That's your data source, right? What member do you want to display in this combo box? You want to display your customer ID from your in the combo box. What is the value member? Value. I think for this is the same thing. We can go none here, I think. Display this. This is more handy when I'm trying to link to values. Let me try customer ID, though I don't see any difference, but anyway, let me try that. And selected value. It says, what do you want to select when it begins? So you can leave it at none, right? Selected value is none when you begin. Okay, so what did I do? Since my combo box was empty, there was nothing in my combo box in my list. There was nothing. And I can just put it in my items collection. That's not what I want to do. I want to pick up the values from the customers table in the customer ID field. And that's exactly what I've done. Okay. And two, before I forget, there was another property I had to. So let's see if it works. And I'll show you if there is a problem. I think a problem it used to actually. You never know if they've improved it. Okay. Oh, okay. So that property has to be done. I haven't done that. So let's come back. And in the properties of this combo box, if you go up and open the data bindings, and selected item, customer binding source, you have to do it here also, okay? Selected value, same thing, customer ID, and tag. Tag is that value if you want to give it a kind of, remember we've used the tag property, and text. I'm thinking, shall I say none here? Because text, otherwise it will come in the, I think so. Okay, let me try. I think text should go none. Logically, I'm just thinking logically. I could be wrong unless I see it. Okay, so now I should see value. Oh, what's happening? That's strange. What else am I doing? I'm doing it right now. Selected item, customers binding source, go to customer ID, selected value. But I'm doing something wrong for sure. Have I forgotten something? What am I doing wrong, guys? Customer binding source. What about these? Yeah, okay, these are okay. In their data bindings, let's see. In their data bindings, I must have just the text. Oh, yeah, okay, I can do that. That's not a big deal. So the rest are okay. And that's exactly what I'm doing in the combo box, except the text property, which is something I don't want to show. So what am I missing here? Let's see, guys. Something is missing. So open up your data bindings again. Go to here. I want the customer ID from the customer. Do you think I've picked up the wrong one? And this is what I have to do. And let's see, customer binding source 1. What is that? How does that matter? It's the same thing. Okay, so what's not happening correctly? What have I missed? Oh God. Data source, data set. Do you think this one? Okay, let's try. Maybe data source here said MMA books database, and here I'm saying pick up the binding source. The display member, of course, you want to show the customer ID. Oh, such an easy one. What am I doing wrong? Can't remember off my head. Oh. Logically, I'm making the connection. Why isn't it happening? Okay, let me try. Though I thought I could do it at the end. I'm going to take my navigator and just delete it. So you can take your navigator and just delete it. And maybe that's causing the problem, though I don't see anything, but I have to find a reason why it's not working. What am I doing wrong? Think about it for a minute. That's my combo box. I went to its property. I said use data bound items. And I said my data source was, why do I have 2 of them? There is a binding source 1 and there is a binding source 2. Okay, what are you? Yeah?
How do you change which form should show one?
Oh, in program.cs, go into program.cs, please.
Yeah.
And then in the program.cs, open that file, and in the last one where you're doing a run,
Yeah.
see here,
Yeah.
change it here,
Okay.
right? Why do I have 2 binding sources and one of those binding sources, and they're the same, there's no difference at all between the 2.
Hey, Andrew.
Yeah.
I uncommented the fill, and it works when you do that.
Oh, okay, I get it. Because I've said I don't want to fill it. It is not filling it with data. Oh, right. It makes sense. If I'm saying don't fill it, where is it going to get the data and fill it in? Okay. Oh, how silly can that be? Okay, so let's see if I'm doing it right in the sense, I don't want to play here. So I said use data bound items. I said use my customer binding source. Okay, that's right. Display member is customer ID. I'm not sure about value member. I forget about this. But you know what? I can't remember its use. Is it telling me the use? This property from the data source will be returned when the selected value property is accessed. Oh, so if I say selected value is none. Okay, so let's make that 2 then. So let's bring a mouse over. Display member makes sense. This property from the data source is displayed in the list. So that's okay. This is more useful when I had a state name and a state code. So that's not a big deal. The value member says this property from the data source will be returned when the select value property is accessed. So if my select value is none, then it's not making sense. So maybe if I try this with none and see what happens. Okay, so definitely we have to go back. That's making sense now. If I remove the fill, how will it fill it, right? Okay, that's one. Two, let's come back to the design again. Go here and just to be sure that I did everything okay in data binding source. So that looks okay. And I said all none. Okay, let's try to run it. I mean, that's all that the logic is about, right? Okay, so it comes up with the first one. And now I can pick up any and the data will come. So now I don't need the navigator. Do you see the difference between when you may not need the navigator? So I'm not doing any adds, deletes or anything. It's just displaying the data in a different manner than data grid. I mean, it's just more, I don't know. I just find it more neater. So you're showing one record at a time, and depending upon which record you want to show, all you do is you pick up it from the customer. So this is just for display purposes. So that can be done too. So here is an example where you won't need the navigator. So you kind of say, I don't need the navigator because I don't want to add or do or whatever. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this record and it should work. There it is. Okay, thanks, Josh. Otherwise, I would have beaten my head because I was exactly doing logically what you had to do. Just bind it. That's all you have to do. Bind it with the right field. That's what was missing in the combo box. Okay, that's all that was missing. And remove the text property because I remember text property used to do something and I had to read it up. So see that you don't have any text. It did create some problems. It went into an infinite loop or something. So it was a bug. And when I looked it up, it said the text property should be blank. So I remember doing it. So that's how I remember what had to be done. But definitely the rest is as simple as putting it in a combo box, right? So that's another thing you could do with the data table. Now you'll say, what if I want to kind of, can I combine two tables? Like I want addition, subtraction, or sorry, addition, deletion, whatever, but I would like to show the state. I would, instead of customer ID, I want to show the state so that the user can pick up from the state, which is much better because who knows what state has to be given. Like, I don't know all these state abbreviations in US, right? That can be done too. I'll show it to you after I finish something else. So this is another form of doing it. Okay, it's just another way of doing it. But before I forget, because it's something that I was, now what? Oh, this is what is causing the problem. See, I told you there was an infinite loop or something that happens and then you can't do anything about it. Okay, so there is something that is going on. Okay, so let's come here for a minute. Let's try to go here. There is, I remember there was something. Or not here. Let's go here. But I think I removed everything from the text field. Yeah, it says none. So there was something that used to create a problem here. It used to. Let me try it. Maybe the other way around. And that's what happens. You just can't. You can do nothing with it. And it was a bug, and it seems that it is still a bug. Yeah, it is still a bug. So I'll have to go and look it up again. My thinking was you remove the text property and you should be fine, is my thinking. That means I'm wrong. Okay, so the text is definitely blank. Okay, so let's try this, guys. And it was just something that you had to do. So try to give a value member here, same that we did. Let's leave the selected value none, doesn't matter. Let's go here, remove the text property for sure. I'm almost positive we had to say none here. Let's try it. So this was just hit and trial. I mean, a bug that I had to take care of. And if I can't, I'll have to look it up again. Seems like my memory is not doing too good. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll have to look it up again because this was a problem that came with combo boxes. It was there in 2013 also, and they still haven't made any changes. So you had to kind of get around it by doing something. And that doing something is, I forget now. But definitely text had to be left blank, which I am doing, which is not working, of course. That means something in this text box that I have forgotten. Though it doesn't make sense that I am doing this, but anyway, I don't know. So everywhere it's the customer ID, source one. Yeah, so we're okay here. But this is it's just a bug, guys. It's nothing to do with logically thinking. You just had to take care of something. So it will be okay. But as soon as you change one and then you try to come back, then is where the problem starts to happen. Oh, it's okay now, I think. No. See, so something does go wrong. Okay, I'll have to Google it. I'll Google it in the break. But there is just something that you have to be careful about. It's not a big deal. It's just something you have to be careful about. Something to do with this property. So logically, Logically, all I did was I just said use data bound items here. But you have to do something you didn't have to put in a value. And I thought it was just text that I could remember. That's the, oh, this is also none. Let's try that. I can't remember now. I didn't test it. I thought I remembered it. I should have, right? Okay, so it's gone into an infinite loop again. Oops. Okay, no worries. I'll look it up. I know that there is a problem. And as far as I remember, these were all none, as far as I can remember.
Later today, can you teach us how to make that little top bar?
Which bar?
You know how there's the minimize and maximize and the X button?
Uh-huh.
And you know the part where you can actually click on the form and move it around?
And move what around? Come again?
The form.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Can you teach us how to make that?
You mean this bar?
Yes.
How to make it or
Yes.
how to remove it?
No, how to actually make it from scratch.
But that comes with the form automatically.
Yeah,
Why would
but
you make it?
Most of the time, if you're making like a custom form, right, you don't really want the Windows look to it. You kind of want to make your own.
Oh, then you'll have to go and try to do a little more of, that's the default nature of Windows Form. Then I think we'll have to do something like with the foundation classes, the window foundation classes.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think you can do it here because it has a standard format. I see what you're saying. When you're trying to make a window, which is what your client says, this is how I want to
Yes.
make it look. Yeah, no, I don't think so. You can do it here. No, I don't think so. And there is where those enhanced WPF classes come into it. Like they let you do, you have your GUI at your disposal now. Here you can't work a lot with the GUI. You know what I mean? Like it's standard. Therefore, they're called Windows forms. Okay, so that's where we'll do it. Not here. I don't think so, but I can still try. I mean, my only thought is if this is a property, but you know what I mean? It's just a property. It's just a control box. But I could try. I'm not so sure. So this I'll look up, guys. For sure, this is something. It's a bug, and you had to make text or something true or false. I forget now completely. I don't know what I thought. Oh, I was good with it because it was fine. But something is not right. So it will work. Like it will work for a few times, and then it kind of goes into an infinite loop. And that's what is, so it is working. I mean, it looks as if it is working. And I thought, oh, I'm okay. I never tried. So the problem starts coming, I think, when you try to go back to a previous one. No, I'm still okay. Or maybe when you try to close the form. And there is when the problem starts. Yeah, when you try to close the form. So it was working perfectly fine. And therefore, I didn't pay attention to it. That's kind of new that when I'm trying to close the form, it's creating problems. Before that, it was working perfectly fine.
I'm having the same problem.
Yeah. That's not what the problem was in the previous versions. In the previous versions, you couldn't even do this. But now notice, everything works fine if I don't try to close the close button. Form closing event is happening. So what is happening in that form closing is the problem that is arising. So I'm okay here, notice, everything is fine. I can go to a particular customer and data changes. I can come back to a particular customer. I thought that was the reason. No, that's not the reason. I'm seeing everything. Everything is available. It's when I try to use the cross button to cross the form. After that, I can't close it and it goes into some kind of borders, but something is happening there. Okay, so it's at least not what it was. So something else now. And what is that? I'll have to find out, because I thought the only thing I had to remember was make its text property as empty, none. And that's what I did. I remembered it to do that, but something else is going on now. So the text should be none here. That's all you have to remember. For a particular field, for example, the combo box field, it has to be none here. So open up your data bindings, just say where you want to bind, and all the rest have to be none, as far as I remember. Anyway, I'll come back. Sorry about that, but I didn't know that the cross button also creates problems. It has to be something which is simple. They always have a solution somewhere, right? So this is to show you how to use a combo box. Not entirely successful, but I'm almost positive I can handle it because it has to be something small. Okay, so that's taken care of. Now let's see what I did in the details form. Okay, we remember this. I remember this. All we did in the detail form is we kind of combined a data grid view with a data details view, right? And again, Josh pointed out last time, because I had picked up the wrong table. Keep in mind, if you want to show data relevant to a customer, which you want to, pick up the table from the customer's binding source, not as a different table altogether. Because if you pick up a different table and put it, it's just going to show you all the data in the invoices table. Okay, so in the previous example, I haven't put try catches and all that, guys, because as I said, with time limited, at least I want to finish off whatever I wanted to last week. So I'll finish it off, and at the end, I mean, I'm not sure how many of you will even go and look at it again, but my aim is that everything should be perfect when I give it to you. Okay, so here, this is what we did. Now, so everything is okay. You've learned how to add more buttons and so on here. So I won't repeat that, but you can do something too. You can create your own extra queries, right? And how do you create extra queries? They're called parameterized queries in Visual Studio, or in C#. But all it means is a query with parameters. Okay, now you'll say, what is this query like? Why are we doing? What does she want to do? Let me show you something before I start doing this. Where is your XSD file? There it is. Okay. Double click on your XSD file. I'm not sure if I showed this to you last week. I can't remember. But this is a diagrammatic representation of how your tables are related to each other. So you may have connections. For example, look at it. The customer table is connected to the invoice table. And do you notice there is an association? There is a one-to-many association. What it means is every invoice here will have one customer ID, but a customer ID can have as many number of invoices, which is perfectly logical, right? A customer can buy many products and will have as many invoices as it is. But the value in the invoice ID is related to the customer ID. Okay, so this is showing you now. If you bring your just bring it on customers table adapter, right? Just click on the customer table adapter, this row. And here is where I was trying to show you where are the delete commands that I'm talking about, or what is happening behind the scene. This is what is happening behind the scenes. So a delete command has been written for you. It's not as if something is happening by magic. Nothing can happen by magic, right? Here is your SQL command, which is saying, okay, delete from customers where whatever, and so on. So all these, when you click on the delete, how does delete happen? When you click on update, how does update happen? All that's right here. Right, so if you go here and you look at these commands, notice there is a connection. The connection just tells you what your connection is, but there is a delete and an insert command right here. That's how data gets added. Do you recognize those statements? Those are just simple SQL statements. And you say, what is this at? What are these values? At name, at address, at city. These are the values that you've put in the text boxes. That's the values it is picking up. So what is it saying? It is saying insert into customers, right? You're inserting a new data row into the customers. These are the fields that I'm inserting the values into, because you have all the fields up there. I think I picked up one that was having all fields. And it says, what are the values? What do I insert? The values provided by the user. So at, keep in mind, at means the values provided by the user. And I try to use, now I want to use it in something I'll do further. So there are your delete and update, add commands, insert commands. So there is no magic anywhere, guys. You just have to find where the magic is, right? So the code is written, and you'll say, what about when I select my data? That's this one. Go to your fill data. There is your select command. There it is. That's what fill does. So when I removed it, I didn't do a selection. So if I didn't do a selection, how will it show it to me? That's what happened with my fill. So I was trying to be smart. Oh, I don't like it when the form begins, but then what do I do then? Right? I have to take care of it. Maybe not in load. Maybe I just have to put, I can put it in another place when selected index is changed in your combo box, then I want to fill my data. I can do that. But that's what was not happening. I mean, nothing was coming and there was no list in the combo box because there was no filling done, because there was no select statement. That's your fill by command. That's what happens when you kind of, when you said fill by. And remember, the name of fill by is the same here. That's what you did. That's it. Fill and get data. So when you say fill, this is the command that gets run. So notice every table will have a delete command, an insert command, a select command, and update command. All you do is, if you want to see it, which I would recommend that you see, you just pick it up from here and click on the ellipsis to see it in the query builder. This is called the query builder. So this is how you create more queries, and I'll show you how to create more queries. Yes, Josh.
When you got that add state code and state name and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that just like, what's that referring to?
It's the value that you put into the text box when the form comes up. the value provided by the user.
So will it automatically just
Pick that
assign
up.
itself a name? Or
Yeah, what it gives the same name as the name of the field with an @ in front of it. That's what it does. So whatever name you've given in the database table, it uses the same name and puts @ in the table to say pick up the value from its corresponding text box. That's what it does. And notice I didn't want to make that forms myself. I could have created those forms myself, but then for each one of them I had to bind it. Why should I do it? Like I had to do for combo box. Therefore, I always drag and drop from my data source onto my form. And the data binding is automatically done for text boxes. For anything else, you have to bound it. And that's what we did with combo box, though we have not been 100% successful. Now I have to look up why that cross is creating a problem. And it was fine before that. So I just have to look it up, whatever it is, right? So each of these tables here will have, and you can click on any one of them. All of them will have insert and so on commands, right? So the fill command will be there, which will be your select and your table and your invoice. Remember, what is the table adapter? Do you remember this object? I said table adapter is that object that picks up data from the database and brings it into your table, and vice versa. So all those commands are right there. So again, you haven't written those commands, but there's no magic behind the scenes. Everything is written. So if you wanted to change them for whatever reason, you could always go here and change them, and they'll change. They will change. Okay. So we are just doing very preliminary way of working with the database, but that's not the end of it. It's just the beginning. If you have to work, if you have to create forms and do more things than just normal update and deletion, definitely you will have to code more. Right? But the idea is what I'm trying to give you. Right? So this is just to show you, because I'm going to use it right away. In a minute, I'm going to use that query builder I showed you and that @ that I showed you. So @ simply means open up anything. It will be everywhere. In your update, it will be everywhere. So wherever you see it, all it means is pick it up from its particular text box. That's what it means. That's what it is. Okay, so that's the @, and I think the convention is, otherwise how will I know? So the text box, it takes the same name as the name of your field in the table, puts an @ in front of it, and it automatically means, notice under new value. And you will also notice this the original values are also called @original customer ID. So these are, I think, by default, that's the name it gives it. I don't know, but that's what they are. It's @original whatever. And for the new values, it is the name of the. So you can always go back to original also. You'll say, oh, something happened, cancel edit. Cancel edit does what? Cancel edit takes the original values and puts it back. It says that's what remains. You're not going to use the new values. So all these things are happening behind the scenes, except that we have to know where they're happening so that when we have to manipulate it, we exactly know where to go. Okay, so it's all here. It's all somewhere here. So I've kind of just led you to show you where they are, right? So where it says and this and this and this and so on. That's all it is doing. So it's updating the invoices. It is setting all these values, and it is saying where invoice ID. So which one to set? Where the invoice ID is what was original. So that's your where statement. So the original ones are called @original_, and the new ones are called @whatever the name of the field. I think it's just a convention that they do. And notice they do it here also. When I was looking at your details form or whatever form, when you bring your mouse over it. Okay, so it just takes the name of the field. Notice it takes the name of the field and just adds the text after it. So I think everywhere it is working with name of the fields. Though these are not so important. I mean, they could have called it anything, but that's what it is. But that definitely, the @one says whatever is in the text box, pick it up. And before it does that, it also saves the original value of the text box in a variable called @original_, whatever the name of it is. That I know for sure. I mean, there's no doubt there, because when I looked at it, I said, what's this original? Like, that's what they do. That's what it does, right? Okay, so it's all here. So nothing is everything is defined. Now, what was I trying to show you? Which was my third form I was going to play with? There's so many. I'm going to close all of them for a minute. Close, yes. Okay. Now the combination. Something to do with data, details, data grid view. That's the only one that's left. That's what I called it. Okay, that's what I called it. I thought I'll see something like customer invoices or something. I wasn't too smart there. I just called it details form. Okay, so the only thing now I have to do with you, because I want to show it to you, is create that combo box also for state. I don't know why it's kind of bugging me now. Why can't I do it? I don't know why can't I do it. Anyway, let's try to do something, and then I'll come back to that state and see what can I do. I forget, but there is to be something. And I didn't make a note because I thought I was doing it fine. Oh well, I'll have to look it up. What else? Okay, let's try to complete this. So again, what it is showing here is customer ID and so on and whatever. I could, if I have already showed you how to remove navigation bar, but in that case there should be some other way of selecting it. And I used a combo box. I was 99% successful, but something there is still a bug there. There are other ways of doing it too. I'll show you. You can just do it in another way. And that another way would be to add your own text boxes and labels and ask the user for the customer ID. So let me try to do that. I'll do it in this form because it's not a big deal. I mean, it's just a form. Okay, do this now. If you wanted to add a new query to your database. So remember, what's a query? A select statement, or like query means what? Querying your data, right? If you want, you have your update, deletes, and all that's going on, and that's fine. But you wanted to create more queries. You could be saying, oh, show me the data for this particular customer. So instead of a combo box, and maybe so because this book doesn't even talk about it in 2015, maybe because of that bug, they are not going that route. Anyway, I'll show you another way, which is foolproof, should not go wrong. Suppose I wanted to add a query. Go add query, please. I'm just doing it with customer ID. You could do it with name. You could do it with address. Address is not a good field to do at all. How will you say, look for this person with this address? That's kind of silly. With zip, you could do it because zips are, you could say, show me all customers with that zip. But I'm picking up a field, customer ID, because every customer has a record, right? I could have picked up name, but again, names can be duplicated. So what I'm trying to show you here is I'm going to get the information about a customer depending upon the value you give me for the customer ID. So we've already done one way of doing it, which was through combo box, which was, to me, it was just easier and more intuitive. Once I figure out what's going on wrong there. Let me show you another way of doing it, and something that is handy, different. Add a query. As soon as you say add a query, you can do this with any of the fields. So you're just saying, what is a query? Query is like a select statement. And why did I do it with customer ID's text box? Because I want to add a query based on customer ID. That's right, that's all. Okay. If I wanted to do something by the name, I would just go to its text box and say add query, and so on and so forth. Just because I'm doing it. Okay, so see what it does. It says, okay, this is your data source. Is that the data source you want to work with? MMABooksDead.customers, I say yes. So that makes it easy. I don't have to change anything. I went to that box. It says, what would you like to call it? It will always start by fill by. Okay, so the fill by with no parameters just says fill everything. Now if I say fill by customer ID, just so that I remember. Okay, I say fill by customer ID. It says, okay, now write the query for me. You're saying, okay, select the customer ID, name, address, city, state, what from customers, where. Where now you have to, when you're doing something, you have to go where, right? So you're writing a query. Okay, so let's say where. I'm just ensuring that I have a blank or whatever. Okay, so complete it. Now you need your SQL skills a little. Okay, where what? You want to look up a customer by a number that you are providing, where your customer ID is equal to at customer ID, the one that you provide. Where is where that at comes in picture. Okay, so there is that at. I had to kind of look it up. How do I say pick up the value from the text box? In a minute, I'll show you what is happening with this. Give me 1 minute only. So it says, you'll say, you can always, if you want to make it more bigger, of course, you can always do this if you like if that makes, but you can always open the query builder. And the builder will show you the tables that you have. It will show you the columns. You can change sort types, ascending, descending. You can also do an execute query right here and see your result because you haven't given a value. So it's saying customer ID is null. What is the value? Enter the value. So let me say I want to look for customer number 1. And I say an OK, and it will show me the value for customer number 1. That's what it does. So I've tested the query. My query is working fine. So how do you test it? You will execute the query. Notice the name of your field that is looking for customer ID, and here is the value. So 123. This is the value. Of course, this is not how you want to show to the user, but this is what I'm just testing it. And there is my customer 123. So it is working. Okay, now I have to just make it a little pretty for the customer. Okay, so let's cancel it. So you could go to the query builder to make it bigger and test it and whatever. If you're kind of sure what is going to happen, you could do this. And notice how you can even change a query that is already existing. You can always do this, right? So that's your default fill. You'll say, I want to change my fill. I want to say, I don't know, maybe add your column names, give alias names to it, maybe remove a field. You can do all that. It's up to you. It's not a big deal. It's all under your control. Okay, now do an OK here and see what will happen. You will get a tool item. It does it for every new query that you add. It will add a tool strip menu item. You'll say, oh, that's so untidy. What can I do after that? Nothing. Just create one and just keep moving where you want it. Create one net. So create your queries, and then to display them, just put them together. So it's entirely up to you. If you click on this, please notice what it has created for you. Look at the control it has created for you. This control is called a tool strip. That's what it is. We haven't used a tool strip till now, but that's what a tool strip is. Like a menu strip, that's a tool strip, right? So a tool strip is just a control. You could have added it yourself and done it by default. So now you know. So in a form, if I say I want to see a tool strip, it comes more handy when you're creating tabbed documents, right? When we do multi-document interface. We haven't done it because all our interfaces have been single. And single means only one form at a time comes up. You don't select from tabbed documents, but that's a tool strip. So it comes handy there. Okay, so you say, oh, that's fine. So it gave it a heading. So that's a label now. So you can kind of come to this label, and if that label is just a label. So this is it. It's done it automatically when you create a query. Put a blank in between so that it looks neater, right? This is the text box from which it picks up your value. This is the text box from which it is going to pick up your value, right? So anything that you put in this text box becomes your add customer ID. And this is the button that you click to get your customer ID. Now this name is very odd. Fill by customer ID is very odd. I just put it there because I wanted to show you that the default is fill by, and you can do it here. Now here, instead of saying, and it's just text, okay? You can say get customer. Here. Neat. So what have I done now? Now I don't need the navigation bar again if you don't want to add, delete, or update them. So that's another way. You may leave it there, nothing stops you. But when you have your own button and you want to manipulate it your way, then you just don't have it. So now suppose if I don't need it, I can do the same thing again. I'll make all these fields as read-only. Oh, a label got selected, therefore. Make all of them read-only. So I'm showing you the same thing I did with the combo box, but I'm manipulating it now, right? So maybe that's why they haven't even mentioned that concept. Okay, I'm going to take my navigator bar. Oops, sorry. I'm going to take my navigator bar and remove it. Right, so I mean, it does look a little untidy, but that's okay. Right, now let's see when we run it. Oh, we have to come back to it. So I changed a form. I should have actually left that alone, but I was just being lazy. So what have I done here? I've shown you how to add a tool strip, a parameterized query. Parameterized because you're giving the parameter customer ID to it, okay? And I've added it. You'll say, can I add more to it? Yeah, suppose you say, suppose I want to see everybody's, I want to come back to my just scrolling. Instead of customer ID, just go to the next record and so on. You can do that too. I'll show you how to do it. But anyway, let's try this. Now let's see how it works, okay? So would you like to see what has happened in this button, get customer, when you went and created that query? Double click on it. See, that's what it did. So you could code yourself, nobody stops you. You can code everything yourself from scratch. When I created a parameterized query, what did I do? I said, I want to fill by customer ID. That's the name of my query that you created. Remember, fill by customer ID. It says, what do you want to do? I want to fill up from the customers table. I want to take the customer. This is a little bit of understanding. Let's do it. Let me put it on a different line so that you can see it. But see what it is doing. It takes your customer ID from the text box. Customer ID text box, right? it ensures that it tries to change it into an int, because remember that is an int variable. It converts it into an int, and it puts it in that, it fills your data with that particular values. That's what it does. And it has automatically put a try catch. So you'll say, what happens if the user doesn't put a number, puts an ABC? Let's see what happens. We'll know what happens. There is a try catch block here. Let's see what happens. Okay, try it. Now run. Oh, remember, go to your program.cs. It was called details forms, guys. I mean, you can run whatever it is, but if we are going to test the one we have written, we have better get that one going. Okay, let's run it and see what will happen. So you can play around with your, oh, seems like it is not data centered and I didn't do these things. Okay, not a big deal. But anyway, so okay, there it is. The first record comes up because it's in the load. I can now remove it from the load. This is a place where I can remove it. Go to customer ID here, 123, and click on get customer. It will get the record of 123. Which guy had 10 had something, right? 10 had it. There it is. So now when the form begins, if you want, you can remove the fill method now, because the first record, if you don't want to see it, it won't come up. You'll say, oh, that's fine. That's how I work. Yeah, that's exactly how you work. Let's try to do something like ABC. Now it's taking that ABC and trying to convert it into an int. And this error is coming. Do you recognize this error? This is the default message which comes. Input string was not in correct format because of the try catch that they've already put. What will be your aim? Your aim will be to put a try catch with a format exception and give a proper message. So let's try that. So this is coming up because there is a catch there. So it goes to that catch irrespective of anything and just puts a message on the screen. That's the default message on the screen. So this is working fine. You will say, oh, how do I, if I want to kind of get all my customers back, like just get all the customers back. There's a way of doing that too also, I'll do it. But let's do a few things now. Now here is the right place where I could do it. So go to your details form, this is where we were, to your CS file. Now you can remove your, oh, there is a fill on both. So we'll have to remove both. You can now remove this fill both. Remember, because there are two tables that are involved. There is an invoices and there is an invoices of the customer. Okay, so these are the two, invoices and customers. I've removed them. I've kind of commented it out. Let's see how it works. Let's start it again. So nothing appears on the form, which is good. I mean, good in the sense, why should anything appear? If you want to, that's okay by me too. But logically, now say put a value and get the value 12. Put your customer 10, get the value for 12, 10. Oops. Uh-oh. Fill by is causing a problem here now. 10 definitely had data as far as I remember, right? 123 did not.
You gotta keep the invoices filled.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, invoices filled. Or the other thing I'm thinking is if I remove it from there, then I'll have to put it in my parameterized query. So you know what is the easy way? The easy way is this. But you see what it will be untidy. Yeah, because you didn't remove the invoices. But suppose if the first customer had invoices, and I remove the fill of my customer, but don't remove the fill of my invoices, then it will look untidy. Either I keep them both, or in my parameterized query, I kind of fill the invoices. I can do that. That's not a big deal, guys. I mean, we can play around with it. So which one is it? This one?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, so pick that up. And in your parameterized query here, let's try to do that. What is the big deal? We should be able to do this. I mean, we know what it is. There it is. You see what I've done? I've just put the fill in my fill by customer ID. I can do that. Let's try it logically. Okay, let's try to get customer number 10 because we know 10 had it. There it is. Yep, I can put it there. So when the form begins, I don't want anything to show. You'll say, is it necessary? I just thought, why? I mean, start with an empty form. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't selected a customer, so why should I see the first customer? But if you want to keep it, that's fine too. It's not a big deal at all. But what I did was, I said, okay, anytime I choose a customer, so let's try it. This should get cleared, right? So let's try 123 or even 1, because we know 1 has nothing. There. Okay, so it is working. It just fills it up with the table.
Actually, it doesn't the same one. You have to leave it on the other side too.
Come again, June.
Where you commented it up?
I did comment it because I didn't want the form to show me any data when the form was loaded.
It won't show you any data if you uncommented.
It will, why not? If I uncomment it from here,
Yeah.
it's not showing any data because by chance customer 1 does not have any invoices. That's why it's not showing any data. You see what I'm trying to say? It's not showing any data because customer 1 does not have any invoices. If customer 1 had invoices, you're saying don't show me the customers, but you're showing show me the invoices. It will show those invoices. It's just by chance not showing it because we know customer 1 doesn't have invoices. Okay? Because we know if you want to show both of them, that's up to you. I mean, nothing, nobody stops you.
Oh, no, the customer part, that one, well, you're pretty much showing us how to get them by using the.
Yeah, but you see, you are saying, oh, even if I don't comment it, it's working. It's only working because by default, when I say fill, it fills up the invoices for customer 1 by default because that's what the customer value is, default value, right? And that's why you're not seeing it. Okay, it's logically it's incorrect. Logically, you should remove it from here if you don't want to see. It's not showing anything because customer 1 does not have any invoices. So I would either remove both or I would keep both. Don't mix and match, right? I removed both because I thought, why show anything when it starts? Okay, why show anything when it starts? Okay, so now the only thing that was kind of looking untidy, which I'm sure you know how to do, and then I'll give you a break, okay, was this few not like things that were not happening for the form. Start from the center, which we forgot, which is not a big deal. Form border style was fixed size, no maximize button, and you should be good. And you should be good. There it is. So keep in mind, it's not showing because like it's just not showing because of what we've done. So that tool strip menu item that you've created there is entirely up to you. Oh, I was talking about that format exception. Oops. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. So now you're getting a kind of a message, input string is not in the right format, makes no sense to a user, right? So this is all you have to do. You know how to do it. You just have to know where to put it. Okay, so let's put a catch here. When does that come? We know it comes when you have a format exception, right? So we can call it, I mean, I don't have to give it a name. What do I do in the format exception? I'll put my own message box. It is being caught. It is being caught because you have a try catch. Remove the try catch and you'll have a runtime error. So do a show. What do you want to say? You can say something like customer ID, because I know what the problem is. Customer ID must be a number. Instead of getting that message input string, I exactly know what went wrong. Okay, so what is it? What should I give in the title bar? Input error. That's what we've been kind of saying, right? Anything that makes sense. Oops, input language error. And then, of course, I've always said that don't keep them bare. Message box buttons, do an OK. And then message box icon, do a error. And what can we do? Since the error occurred in your customer ID text box, we can always do this. We can focus it back. Or you can select all and focus so that if you gave a wrong value, it's selected. Normal things. Okay, so what was it called? I think it was called customer. There it is. Customer ID text box. Normal things that you have been doing. There's nothing different about this except your data source. Keep in mind. So the aim here is how to work with it and then focus here. You could clear it if you like. Some of you clear it. That's fine by me. I just like to select all so that the user knows. Now I'll have a proper message. Customer ID must be a number. Let's try it now, right? Let's try it. Let's give it a go. And let's try to do an ABC and say get customer. And there it is. Instead of saying input string, whatever, which was such an odd message, I have it under control now. And see what will happen. Select all. Oh, wrong box. Wrong box. So that's not the text box I want to go to. Okay, so what is this text box? I'll have to look it up. I thought I had it. What is this text box? Customer ID tool strip text box. So you make a mistake, it doesn't go where you want it to go, which is okay, but we know what the problem is. So this is not customer ID, it is customer ID tool, whatever tool strip. Uh-oh, I'll have to kind of do it again just because I can't remember. So this was customer ID, control spacebar. It is that tool strip. There it is, customer ID tool strip text box. I picked up the wrong one. So of course you pick up the wrong one, you get the wrong one. Do a select all. And then again here, just take this and make a focus. So it is going to where I told it to go. That's not where I want it to go. So run it again. And try to give a value that doesn't, irrelevant value. And it goes back there. There it is. So again, what did I do? I removed the navigation bar. I'm hoping this will not create, the combo boxes had problems, I remember. Okay, so we are good with this one. So I did the same thing. I just added a tool strip. In there, I said, give me the value that you want to work with, and I had a button. Of course, the combo box is more convenient, but there was always a bug with it, but I thought I knew how to handle it. Now, for your information, if you wanted to do this, it's just a form, guys. It's not a big deal. If you wanted to add another button here to your tool strip menu item, this is all you do. So if you want to add a separator, add a separator. Now, if you want to add another button, add a button. What would you like to call that button? What would you like to, it's already, you can give it a name, of course, and let's say get all customers. I'm trying to get all customers now, just because I know how to do it, right? So get all customers. Get all customers tool strip menu item. And on the, if you want to, it says display style is image. I'm going from image to text. I don't want an image, display style. And then what do you want to put on it? You want to say get all customers. Oh, and you know what? You can even make shorthand keys. It's just a button. You can make shorthand keys too. Okay. Oops, spelling is wrong. There. So you've added another button. What will get all customers do? That, it's not very handy for me here, but get all customers will bring you back to normal. You can just do a fill on. Okay, so you can just do a fill on. So if you want to try, let's try it. It's not making a lot of sense here because, because as I said, it doesn't make, I'm looking at one at a time, but just showing you how you can do it. So again, double click on it. And what would you do here? You would do your fill here. So the fills that we kind of took out from here. The only thing is I don't have a navigation bar, right? So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But just to show you, it can be done. There, fill it back. That's get all customers. So when you click on it, it starts from customer number 1. So all you need to know is how do I do it? What are the names of my method? Okay, so let's try it again and see the difference. So if I say get all customers, it just kind of goes forward. Now, as I said, this is not very useful here because what will I do after that? I don't have a navigation bar to move forward. You know what I mean? But you will say, can I make it? Why not? Why not? All you have to do is go to the next record, right? So we can, if we like, we can put a navigation, we can put our arrows ourselves. So whatever you want to do. And again, the get all customers, again, come back here and give something like 10, just because I know there is an answer. Because you're on the 10th one. You want to go back, start from scratch. There it is. So it's just a tool strip that you can add your own buttons to or whatever. Right? That's another way of doing it instead of using a combo box. Though I have to figure out what's going on with the combo box. So again, so what I'm trying to show you here with these forms is that I am using the detailed grid view and the details view just for the simple reason that I don't have to bind those items myself afterwards. I don't have to bind them to the right data set and the table. I just don't want to do that, to save that time. Otherwise, you could start from scratch, put whatever you want on your forms, and then bind them to the right kind of item. I did it in combo box, and that's how you do it, except it's something else that is not there. So to kind of get away with that extra work, I use a detail view or a grid view. I get it. I know the grid is not so friendly, but the details is not bad at all, right? Then you can do whatever you like with it. It's just a details view. So how to start the form? You could have started from scratch. You could have designed it yourself and do whatever you wanted. It was just more work. So I said, let's just use this data source so that when I drag and drop, I'm automatically binding it and then go from there. Okay, that's what I've done. So just to show you, I know it's not so useful here because there is no next button, there's no navigator. So what will I do with it? Okay, so that takes care of another way, another doing things. The combo box is kind of, I'll see how to do it. Okay, so that's, if I have nothing else, I'll see how, the last one is a big one. I'm not sure if I can complete it unless I give you some data. I have another example, but anyway, let's see how it goes. Otherwise, maybe I'll introduce you to the entity framework, though it won't be a big, it cannot be a complete lesson.
I have a question.
Sure.
What if you wanted this to run as like a standalone program? Like, is there a way to like export it?
Oh, you mean I'll deploy it?
Yeah.
Like give it to your customer is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. But remember, I've been creating the form in the same